Okay, let's unpack this. Have you ever felt like God was just, well, quiet? You know, like your prayers were hitting a ceiling maybe, or your usual spiritual practices felt, I don't know, dry, empty. It's a really common thing, this subjective sense of separation. A lack of joy, maybe, where your spiritual routine just feels like you're going through the motions. Our sources often call that spiritual dryness.
Yeah.
But sometimes it feels like it goes deeper, doesn't it? It kind of evolves into this really profound perception that God is hidden, or maybe just unresponsive. And that can bring up those bigger existential questions about his presence. That's often called divine hiddenness.
Yeah.
And look, if you felt this, you were absolutely not alone. There was this one study focused mainly on Christian individuals, and it found, get this, a staggering 82.1% reported experiencing God's silence. 82%. I mean, that's a massive number, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It really is.
Yeah, and it instantly shifts the perspective, right? It's not some personal failing or like something's wrong with you. It suggests it's this, well, remarkably widespread, maybe even transformative part of the whole journey.
And what's truly fascinating here is how this shared experience has been understood, not just on a personal level, but deeply to biblical stories, historical wisdom, you know? So our mission for this deep dive is really to explore how this phenomenon has been interpreted across time, and maybe what unexpected, profound purposes it might actually serve in our spiritual life.
Okay, so if it's that common, 82%. What's the core understanding we should take away from these sources? What's it all mean?
Well, what's really powerful and maybe comforting is that God's perceived silence isn't usually, as many people fear, a sign that he's absent, or worse, that he's abandoned you. Instead, yeah, our sources consistently point to it often being a very purposeful space, purposeful for growth.
Yeah.
For refinement, really like a crucible for deeper faith. Yeah, it's in that silence, you know, when maybe our usual comforts or feelings are stripped away, that our faith is kind of forced to stand on its own, not just on like fleeting emotions or external signs. That's the refining fire, so to speak.
Wow. That's incredibly profound. This idea that intense darkness could actually signal deeper proximity. But I mean, for someone who's right in it, feeling abandoned, how do the sources suggest they reframe that? Because it feels so counterintuitive, right?
You're absolutely right, it does. It feels completely counterintuitive. But if we connect this to the bigger picture, well, we find tremendous wisdom in the historical and mystical traditions. They really tackle this head on. So you take someone like St. John of the Cross, the Carmelite mystic. He famously called this the dark night of the soul.
The dark night.
Right. And he described it as this profound passive purification. It's where God intimately purges the soul, stripping away attachments, not just worldly comforts, but even like spiritual consolations, those good feelings we get. And here's the kicker for St. John. This darkness, it isn't about God being far away. It's actually potentially a sign of his intense closeness, like being momentarily blinded by a light that's just too overwhelming for our senses.
Blinded by the light, so the intensity feels like absence.
Exactly. Our limited senses just can't process it in the usual way. And then, I mean, look at the really compelling case of Mother Teresa. Her private letters, they came out later, revealed nearly 50 years of internal darkness, just this profound spiritual void she experienced.
50 years, wow.
Yeah, and her spiritual director helped her see this, not as a lack of faith, but as this unique vocation of solidarity. Her own experience allowed her to deeply unite with the suffering of the people she served, feeling their sense of abandonment herself.
So her struggle and her service existed together.
Precisely. This profound struggle coexisted with truly extraordinary faith and service. I mean, she was a beacon of light, even while she personally felt surrounded by darkness.
Okay, so here's where it gets really interesting for me. These insights, they aren't just theoretical ideas, right? Our sources actually point to practical ways to navigate these periods. What did the deep dive reveal about that? What can you do?
Right, absolutely. There are pathways, for example, persevering in spiritual disciplines, prayer, scripture reading, fellowship, even when they feel totally empty.
Yeah.
That act of just showing up without the immediate reward, it builds incredible resilience.
And trust.
Keep going, basically. Keep going. And embracing silence and solitude, which, again, might feel counterintuitive when you feel unheard.
Yeah, why lean into the silence?
Well, often it's in that quiet, that space, that we start to maybe discern God's communication beyond just audible words. Maybe it's a subtle shift in perspective or an unexpected sense of peace or clarity about something. It's quieter, different.
Okay, makes sense.
And crucially, serving others. Getting the focus off your own internal state. that can profoundly shift things internally and connect you to something, well, bigger than your personal struggle.
So these aren't just ways to cope, they're ways to actively deepen faith.
Exactly. They are active ways to deepen faith and potentially that connection itself.
Okay, so what does this all mean then, wrapping up? The core idea seems to be this perceived silence isn't absence.
Right. If we connect this to the bigger picture, drawing from that historical and mystical wisdom we talked about, St. John of the Cross's dark night as purification leading to union, suggesting that darkness is proximity. And Mother Teresa's incredible 50 years showing this profound struggle as a form of deep solidarity. It suggests these periods aren't failures, but profound, if difficult, parts of the path.
And practically, as we just discussed, things like perseverance, embracing quiet, discerning differently, serving others, these are real pathways through. So here's a final thought, maybe something provocative for you, the listener, to mull over. What if God's perceived silence, that space you experience as quiet, is actually his profound act of trust in you? What if he allows that space precisely so that your truest, most authentic faith and love can emerge, uncoerced, as you choose to seek him for himself, even when, maybe especially when, he feels hidden?